Welcome, guys, to another episode of Professionally Curious. I'm here challenging myself to interview the 100 most insightful founders in crypto. My name is Joanna. I'm the co-founder of Soon. I'm here today, very much happy to be joined by my good friend, my homie. I almost said my homie. Ahmed from KYD.
Yeah, gang activities, gang. Yeah, glad to be here. Super excited to provide any kind of reasonable insight I can provide. But excited. It's Thursday. What's up, guys?
Yeah. So we really just want to start this out with some basic questions about your backstory. How did you get to crypto? I know the story, but just pretend that you're telling me for the first time.
I love to pretend all the time. I pretend to get hinge matches. That's the fun part. Sure. I can go into a little bit of my background. So, started my career working specifically at entertainment, like ticketing. Started in the industry because I thought it was a great way to take girls on dates and fulfill some kind of creative need I had because I wasn't creatively talented. My mom was. She was a musician, so I thought it was a great space to express both what I was good at, which was managing products, on the engineering front. So I worked at a small Canadian startup called Fan Exchange, where we introduced how to buy tickets with your loyalty points, and it was a way to reduce cost of acquisition. We started off with, I believe, American Airlines, and then scaled to over 100 loyalty programs, enabling if you have a Amex card or you're a points holder of any kind of point, like fuel rewards, to buy concert tickets with your fuel rewards. It worked. We our team was really, really dope, and we got acquired, joined with seats, oversaw that, and then got picked up by the big Ticketmaster. And when I was a Ticketmaster, everything from attribution to working on software that hosted some of the greatest festivals on the planet, Coachella, Outside Lands, so on, so be it. And then the pandemic hit, worked on virtual concerts, while a lot of venues got hit, and thought that wasn't fair. One ticketing company shouldn't have all that power, and venues that have been around for hundreds of years, artists that are putting their lives and time into producing great experiences or going out of business, it really makes sense. So that's kind of the ethos of KYD. We consider ourselves to be the people's Ticketmaster, where it's owned and governed by artists, venues, and they have a 21st century solution to actually deal with selling their tickets. No more queues, hopefully. But yeah, that's really my story. Aside from that, I collect vinyl. Really haven't been good at it for the past 3 years because I don't sleep during the job. But yeah, that's my backstory in a TLDR format.
Yeah, love that. I think a couple of things that really jump out to me. You worked at Ticketmaster, and now you're building the main competitor of Ticketmaster, right? In the sense doing this on-chain ticketing service, but you're really selling into a very interesting I would say let's go into that, right? The sales model, the business model, because I think when people talk about ticketing, the one thing, the misconception is this is all kind of a B2C type of sales model, right? The artists themselves, right? The singers, the musicians themselves, they control the ticketing, the supply, and then they just sell directly to the individuals. Right. But that's not what actually happens. No. It's really a B2B game. Yeah, tell us about that.
It's far from it. I think when you look at it from the fan side, you're like, oh, Taylor Swift is screwing us, or somebody at the label is screwing us, or it's actually furthest from the truth. When you look at ticketing is really a venue game. Whether you're going to Madison Square Garden or you're going to the Wells Fargo Center in Philly, all of these stadiums have long-tailed ticketing deals. So when you sign a deal with, for example, like a Stripe or an exclusivity deal with in crypto, an L1, you're exclusive for a period of time and you can't use anybody else. So those deals come with incentives. So, ticketing has actually been the purest form of, in my opinion, what degen trading was.
I love that analogy. Yeah.
It literally was. You'd get, Ticketmaster really was the king in the 80s and late 80s and early 90s of providing these
There's
incentives.
Really no disruptors this whole entire time?
It's hard to disrupt
since
because
the 80s.
It's hard, and I'll tell you why. So, ticketing really, to win a ticketing deal, you have to give 10% of the deal value up front. Right. So, Madison Square Garden does $250 million a year. If you multiply that by 10, that's $2.5 billion in ticketing sales. So you have to have $250 million just to get in the room to even get a deal in Madison Square Garden. So, when you look at balance sheets of ticketing companies, it's really hard to disrupt an incumbent with a balance sheet that has been grown over 3 to 4 decades. Mm-hmm. So Live Nation's real business, and their business is effectively having the balance sheet and putting these deals in places for artists and venues, and it's based off debt. So, Live Nation and Ticketmaster are banks. They're banks that effectively provide advances on future sales. Yep. So, if you look at the model here, Live Nation has anywhere between the ballpark of $6.1 to $6.5 billion in debt that they hold at 4.4% interest. That's insane. And they're selling tickets and charging customers anywhere between 20 to 40% in service fees. So they're making a massive spread. For every dollar of is a crazy statistic, any dollar of debt Live Nation holds, they make $3 to $4 or something like that. That's the game here, right? And I think for us at KID, we there is the real help artists sell more tickets, help venues sell more tickets, help them be more successful, being connecting with their fans. We do that amazing from the experience side, but as a B2B business, outside of the components of helping reach customers, delivering returns on investment for these venues, we're also a bank. And, we did it in a unique way on chain. We opened up a whole new market for people that want to deposit their USDC.
The lenders?
Yeah, exactly. Earning off a culture, right? Instead of speculating on assets that might or not have an outcome, you can park your USDC on us and earn up to 20% in yield from powering culture, powering experiences. And that helps us obviously drive our flywheel of winning venues, getting in those rooms, helping those venues be more successful, and enabling not only token holders or at this point lenders to earn from that profit that we're making, but it also creates an ecosystem where we effectively help the venue earn as well and get a kickback from their fees and earn that respect. So that spread that Live Nation makes off of reselling their debt as payday loans to artists and venues and making that massive spread, that spread now is going to venues, it's going to lenders, it's going to, refers, people that bring in new business into the network, and it becomes a model where we can really take on the Live Nations. That's the hardest thing to tackle. If you don't got the fucking money, you can't play the game, right? So that's the...
that's why the monopoly, right?
It's a very complicated industry, and, Ticketmaster, I've worked on both sides, primary and resale. So if you haven't been in the muck of things, you really won't understand how the business works. And it's built that way so that there's not a lot of competition. It's a long-winded way of saying
So let's review this, right? So you have in your flywheel a few sort of the stakeholders, right? So you got the let's start with the venues, right? And then you have the lenders, right? Who's basically depositing USDC with you. That part is on chain. And then you have
the fans.
You have the fans, exactly, the customers that are purchasing tickets on as the end user. And then you basically weave this net of value flow, right? Throughout this journey, this life cycle of the ticket. And actually, because it's done on chain, you can verify and track, right, the actual each ticket where it goes, and the ticket sale can be repatriated back, exactly, trustless, right? That part of the royalty can be kicked back to any part of the participants. So does that explain the main value prop against the existing Web2 version?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit it around the head, right? You have a trustless system where we as the ticketing platform, you get liquidity from lenders. That liquidity lets us win venues. Venues get fans that generate fees. Those fees go back to lenders, which then increases appetite to lend more, right? So the model is effective. That's our flywheel, right? But when you look at the business as a whole, the Web2 component is grossly inefficient.
Yeah.
You're seeing when 60% of U.S. venues are at the cusp of going out of business because of the pandemic, and fewer than less than 1% of ticketing companies are that's a big signal that there's something wrong here, right? But yeah, my belief has always been that I don't think creators like artists or venues or anything in that realm requires a coin. I think it requires debt or accessible debt, so that they can do what they do best, right? I think a lot of times we look at artists as a perfect machine, and their needs are an artist needs this, and the reality is an artist's needs are very different than their business needs. And artists have, business teams, a manager, an agent, a tour manager, a field rep. There's so many people that contribute to that artist ecosystem where the artists doesn't actually really know what they need. It's actually those independent players that you would never hear about, right? You would never hear about at venues that there's a talent buyer that books your favorite artist and they get paid up front, right? You would never hear about, the road manager that's coordinating the 17 different, hotels that the artist is staying at and then the team is staying at. And, Taylor Swift is a great example of this. She has multiple tour buses of dozens of people, going from city to city, making that show a possibility. And I think, we see that and we're like, okay, like there's so much value being created by Taylor Swift, not only just at the concert level, but the gross economics of it. There's staff being hired. There's immediate impact in that city. There's a huge economic impact in that city. Like Bad Bunny is a good example of this. $100 million in new economic opportunity in Puerto Rico. It's insane. So we're just doing our best at capturing that value accrual and making sure it goes to the right people, because I don't think there's a world where live events can continue on a model that was built in the 80s. It doesn't make sense.
Can I agree with that more? Yeah. And then the fact that I think you guys already proved that, right? The live concerts, these events are bringing people together, right? Like we were just talking about this before. I was literally looking at on your screen how fast the tickets are getting sold. Like every 3 minutes, right? Minimum or maximum. It's every 3 minutes, like a ticket is being sold. So it's really fascinating, what you're building, because it's a brand new use case that we see the blockchain can handle. At the same time, right? So I think bring it back to what we were discussing, like we were collaborating on, right? So the live events come with certain constraints, right? So you're like the king of, concerts, like venues here in New York, because every venue that I can think of. How do you think about like branching outside of New York City, starting to expand to new locations and new countries?
So, we're employing a strategy now where we're moving into LA, we're moving into Chicago, we're moving into Dallas, we're moving into Austin over the next 6 months into multiple different venues there. I think when we think about scaling KID, it's really about getting a tour out. A tour out is primary markets where you have the highest frequency of tours for artists. Our goal is that artists they will opt to tour at KID-powered venues because they're getting their data, they're getting, the things they need, they're seeing the returns. So for us, we need to establish those tour routes, and we're in good shape to do that. We've been public with saying we want to get to 100 plus venues by the end of 2026, all across the U.S. Crazy task, but I think I'm confident and I feel good about it, and I feel that we've really made a lot of headway with people that are not crypto native at all, that are working off Excel sheets, and we've earned a lot of trust in this industry because we're in those rooms. I know every single bartender, every single door person at all of our venues, and I did that as a founder to really push that referral piece, because the flywheel, I didn't really talk about this participant, is our venues are customers. They're our best salespeople. They go and they refer us to other venues because these venues are all working together to book touring together and do all that stuff. So, shout out to LPR. I feel good about it, but yeah, that's just my high level thoughts.
Yeah. I think, for folks that are listening, we're definitely going to try to help out and get you out to some of these international locations. We're, very big in like Korea, in Southeast Asia. I think there's
I was a huge Big Bang fan growing up.
Oh.
Yeah, T Yang was T Yang was bro, ring-a-ling. Anyways, he was super dope, and G Dragon was one of I thought he was I thought he was literally, I think he was almost bigger than Justin Bieber for a long time. Yeah, we want to be in the APAC regions. I think for us, we want to, New York is the most competitive city in the world.
Of course, yeah.
We want to be able
if you can survive here. And if you can actually win.
If you win,
yes.
Then I think, KID would be incredible in Korea where there's less restrictions. And, we're excited to being there. We're excited, just the level of passion for entertainment and the amazing artists that come out of Korea, the amazing people and fandom in Korea. I think KID it'd be very, very interesting. I think we want to be, instead of doing the volume we do today, want to be a little bit bigger and then go to Korea and then scale out there and make a pretty big impact.
Yeah. Looking forward to our co-host events in KBW. I think the last question from my end is just trying to think through how does this all mean, from my side, right? I'm an infra builder, so hearing use case that you're building on really get me excited, right? Because that's literally kind of the type of use case I want to support, right? Being a high performance chain that can actually do real time, transaction processing, and for you guys, I think you will be looking for that type of requirements. Just curious on your thoughts on, now you're on Solana,
right?
For actually not that long, you moved over from Aptos, right? So that's another story, but curious on your thoughts on choosing partners in terms of the blockchain.
I think it goes back to ecosystem. You know, when you look at Infra partners, you look at other projects building, collaboration is a big part of what we do. Community is a huge part of what we do as, you know, Web3 builders. So, you know, Solana for us was, you know, we were originally built on Solana. So for us, it was like, okay, you know, is the infrastructure at a point where A, the liquidity is there, and B, like, can we create a seamless experience? That was yes for us. I'm not saying that, you know, Aptos wasn't. Aptos is some of the best tech we've ever seen. It just, there was other constraints there that just didn't work out. Yeah, that being said, like, I think, you know, when we look to the future, it's, you know, there's not a lot of, you know, when we look at Infra, we hope that our use case will have Infra builders thinking differently about the regular user versus the DeFi user and the degen user or the crypto native user. I think there's been so many instances in our startup life cycle where we had to really build our own shit to get it to fit, to support real world users, which I think is going away. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people at Solana and a lot of teams, you know, that are really looking at it differently. Like Time.Fun is like a great example of this. I love their experience. You know, when we look at like even the base ecosystem, I think I'm really excited about what, you know, Blackbird's doing in the space. We're seeing instances of this, and I'm definitely seeing changes from infra builders to support those use cases. We're also seeing that on the Web2 side. Like there's a lot of acquisitions happening. The Privy acquisition, shout out to Henry. That's a great example of like, hey, we built the pipelines to make this seamless, and that's a deserved acquisition, in my opinion. So, you know, we're just one of many, and we're hoping builders build, you know, more builders like ourselves are coming out there and shaping the infra considerations. And I think it's gonna happen soon. I think it's gonna be revenue or die type shit. You know what I mean? Like I think that there's a new golden age of crypto that's coming. That's gonna be sober, but also just as degen. I don't know if those two mix, but
I've never heard those two words in the same sentence.
I don't think they
that's
fucking
the
mix.
first.
I don't think they mix. I'll find them.
Yeah, no, I think for you, the main thing that would be interesting to consider is the lender side. They might care about like what chain they're settling on, right? Like which assets, you know, is it on like the USDC? Is it on Solana or on ETH?
Liquidity is a big thing. Like
liquidity is a huge thing.
It's a huge thing. Like I think, you know, when you look at going outside of just like the different communities that have already existed, I think like liquidity is number one for our use case, because the lifeblood of our business on chain is, yes, resale is a great use case that impacts the fan, but you won't get the tickets if you're not able to do these deals and provide and meet the liquidity needs of venues. So think of us as like a chain on top of a chain. Venues need liquidity, but we have great products, so they get both. So that's the kind of the same thing for us. So yeah, like you know, it is difficult, and I think there's going to be a lot of, you know, composability on. There's already solutions for it. I'm not too familiar. I'm not an infra guy, but yeah, we'll see.
We should talk. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Shout out to soon.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. Any closing thoughts? This is great. I mean, I always love talking to you.
Oh, likewise. Nah, not really. I think it's just like if you're building, you know, don't solve for the hot problem, solve for the hard problem, and do right and kill everything.
Yeah, you guys are killing it. I mean, I forgot to mention that you guys are, you know, getting all the recognitions, right, from the investor side, like ACNZ, Comcast. That's a big one. That's a biggie.
You know, we're happy, and I think, you know, our focus is the only recognition we really care is from builders like yourself and from our customers. Like, if we are able to make them more money and make them more successful, we deserve to compete against Ticketmaster. If we don't, we don't deserve to exist.
And you do this with like 5 people.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck. How did you do that?
It's called No Sleep. Cracked co-founder and
imagine like answering all those tickets. Yeah, like support tickets.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Oh my goodness.
It's definitely, it's not easy. It's not easy. Like I said, it goes back to don't solve the, you know, easy problem. Don't solve the like the cool problem. Solve like the hard problem. Yeah, it's not easy, but like we're going up against Ticketmaster. You gotta be killers.
Yeah.
And
you gotta be killers.
You gotta be killers. So yeah, we take a lot of pride in that, and we're hiring.
Yep, Kid is hiring.
Yeah,
for anyone
engineer. Let me know.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll definitely invite you back for another episode. We'll do another
bring
chat.
Tequila.
Bring tequila. Maybe we'll have some musicians in the background,
Maybe.
DJ.
I'm down.
Awesome, Ahmed. Great to have you.
Great
Thank
to
you.
be here. Thank you.